bad. That was
No,
bad
that was
timing.
fine.
My bad.
It does look really good. Oh, hello.
The onions are very underrated in this dish.
Lame.
Oh, I know. I was just saying.
So big. And I will.
That seems like a crime.
Did you get it?
Hello and welcome back to this week's video. If you're new here, my name is Lauren and I am the owner of Citrus Diaries Studio, a creative studio for the CPG food and beverage world. And I thought we'd start off this video and maybe every video thereafter talking through this week's digest of everything that I love and think is something that is worth your attention in the world of food, beverage, honestly, fashion, lifestyle, all the things that I've been loving that I think, like I said, worth your attention. So we're gonna talk through a couple different things today, and you can find a write-up of all of this on Substack. It's the digest by Citrus Diaries Studio. I'll have it linked in the episode description, or not episode description, video description. So let's get into it. So I have my laptop here because I will forget what I'm talking about and what I wanted to say, but I wrote up this whole piece about how I'm avoiding the winter blues this year. Last year really was a doozy. I was just so depressed all of winter and it was quite bad. I really don't want to go through that again. And I think I've made a lot of progress in other areas of my life when it comes to depression and anxiety that aren't hinged on the weather and the cold and the dark. But I know that as soon as it's freezing ice cold and really dark for longer than a week, I'm going to be miserable, but I'm leaning into it. And honestly, something I was thinking about is this summer was the first time I went camping, and I think being connected to nature in that way and being out in the cold and being out in the dark and being cool with it and it going well kind of set the tone for how I want to approach winter this year. Of this is a fun adventure. It's not something that I need to force myself to go through or force myself to do things that I don't want to do while it's cold and dark outside. So that's my approach to winter this year. I want to be happy. I want to lean into it. And I have a lot to be thankful for and a lot of really fun things on the horizon. And I don't want the winter blues to get me down and take me out of it. So that is my philosophy for writing this piece. And I kind of outlined 6 things, 6 ways that I am trying to lean into a happier winter. And it all kind of sprung off of this idea that they have in Danish culture, which I'll put the word on the screen here because admittedly I didn't look up how to pronounce it before I started recording, but this is the word. It's defined as just being like cozy and comfortable in your surroundings and happy within your surroundings and not feeling like you have to like force yourself to go out and do something. And it's the feeling of contentment, especially contentment within the home and contentment within yourself, which I love. And that is certainly, I think, makes a lot of sense as to what I was saying before. And I've been really falling in love with the culture of Danish folk art, and is something that I've always brought a lot of inspiration from and gotten a lot of inspiration from, and especially within my work and work going forward is like I really am drawn to colors and shapes and patterns that they use in Danish art, and especially like Danish interiors. And I've been watching so many home tours on YouTube where the homes are very much styled and have like a Danish look and feel to them. So I'm quite excited about, you know, just how all of this is like working together. But this term is, you know, it's about an atmosphere and experience rather than things, is a quote that I have in the digest, and you can read more about it in there. But I have really just been wanting to like have some time to decompress. I feel like I have had a whirlwind of a year. I really, with the business, things have been great. Last year they were great. This year they were great. And I changed a lot of things up just in how I wanted to live and how I wanted to operate within the business, and kind of switched up the hierarchy of the types of projects I was taking on as well, kind of halfway through the year, which was a really big switch up, and it was really scary. And I had to rework a lot of things, but I think it has led to me being much happier in the processes. So it was a very big change. There was a lot that happened, and I was so stressed out probably a couple weeks ago, a month ago, that the end of this year was not going to pan out how I wanted it to. And I think that was just anxiety of not being willing to live in the moment and know that those things are going to happen. Like, just because I'm not forecasting certain things at certain numbers 3-4 months down the road doesn't mean that they're not going to happen and come to fruition in the meantime. And I think that has kind of now all come back to, I really need to learn how to be content. So we're leading into it this winter, as I've said a million times. So there's 6 general tips for how to practice this. The first one is mood lighting. I have never been an overhead lighting gal. I never will be. I hate the overhead lights being on. My boyfriend was literally saying to me the other day that we were having friends come over, and he was like, have you ever thought that maybe not everyone likes to walk into like an almost dark room? And I was like, oh my gosh, we probably should turn more lights on when we have people over. But truly, I want it to feel like the room is lit by candlelight. I don't want overhead lights. Probably that has something to do with the fact that I get chronic migraines, and they're very much triggered by bright environments and just too much light. I think that kind of leads into things, but I really want to consider investing in some red light bulbs, especially for my bedroom, and have a lamp that just has a red light bulb in it rather than switching all of my other lamps, because that doesn't feel super practical. But I have read and seen a lot of people talking about how like it's really nice before bed, and something that I want to lean into more is relaxing in bed before I actually fall asleep. I used to be the person that would sit in my bed and do all my homework, do like all of my sitting and relaxing time. And that's probably one, because I had roommates and that was just an easier environment to be in. But I also think that there's something to be said of like relaxing in bed, not necessarily bringing like work and at that time schoolwork into bed probably wasn't the best idea. But I think kind of relaxing and easing into sleep rather than it being like I'm rushing, doing all this stuff, you know, hanging out downstairs and like watching TV and, you know, spending time with Wes, and then like going up and getting ready for bed, and then like all that commotion, and then getting in bed and then immediately trying to fall asleep, I think is maybe not the best mindset. And it would probably be nice to relax in there a little bit more, especially because I've been leaning into really getting the bedroom set and done, because I was talking about this in the newsletter last week. I feel like I have the rest of the house pretty like set. Like I feel good about where all the rooms are at. There's definitely still stuff I want to do. A lot of it hinges on like finding art and finding shelving and things like that. But the rooms are pretty set and I feel pretty good in them. But the bedroom is relatively set, but there's definitely some things I want to do just because I want to make it cozier and feel just a little more all put together. So I'm leading into like blush tones and shades of rust and just warm and cozy. So we're gonna put this big, like long, honestly, it's gonna be like 8-foot long shelf above our bed and have like plants hanging from it and books and things like that. I'll put some pictures in if I can. And I'll try to do a rudimentary drawing, which you're probably seeing over here, but put the shelf in. And then I found this set of blush and rust striped pillowcases and a matching sheet, which I think will be a beautiful addition to things. They're from Piglet in Bed. And then I saw this quilt. I guess it's a coverlet, but I've been talking about it as if it's a quilt, but it's from Quince, which I've never bought any of their home products before, but I love the pattern. I love the color. It's like a burgundy and a cream, which I think will play well into the rust and the blush tone. But I think kind of brightening up and warming up, which those two words don't feel like they go together, but in my mind, brightening up as in like fresh and warm tones in the bedroom, and then getting some art and getting some other items in there. I think it'll feel so cozy and I'll want to spend more time in there before bed. I keep having to pause this because I've had a crazy cough the past like week and I start coughing every time I talk and it's so annoying, but that's why my voice sounds weird and there's a couple weird cuts, that's why. But my other thing for the bedroom is I want to get a sunrise alarm clock, but I've seen a lot of people talking about how they're getting rid of their hatches, and I think some of that is a little bit of like weird conspiracy theory stuff, but they're also, I think, now charging a subscription. I don't know. I'm not on board with a subscription, FYI, but I think there are like dupes and alternatives. So I want to get something like that, although I do feel like the bedroom gets pretty bright, but I would love to start waking up before the sun rises so that I can enjoy the sunrise, and I think that will help with wintertime. So alarm clock, but not necessarily like alarm, but like sunrise alarm clock. The next one is hanging out with a circle of close friends. I'm lucky to have a really nice circle in Columbus, but something that I realized is that I don't really hang out with people as much, just like casually, like coming over to the house, very casual, hanging out, not really having set plans. Most of the time when I'm seeing people, it's like, we're going out to dinner, we're going out for drinks, we're like going to a sporting event, we're doing this, like it's a specific purpose. And I think sometimes that can bog you down of like, it's like a big event, it's like a big thing to get you out of the house. But I think sometimes it would be so nice to have people just like come over and hang out here. So I texted my girlfriends this morning and I was like, we should have a craft night. I want to make these stars to hang in the living room and maybe my office as well. And then with the scraps, I want to make some garland to hang everywhere in the meantime. And I'm hosting Friendsgiving in a couple weeks. So like, I really need to get on my decorating, and there's a couple DIYs that I want to do, that being one of them. So that'll be very fun. And I'm hoping this will be like an ongoing thing, maybe like once a month, every 2 weeks, whatever works for people. The next one is make yourself comfortable. I feel like for the most part, clothes-wise, like work from home clothes, I have that under control. I do really want to get another pair of PJs. My friend Delaney wrote a wonderful piece about her favorite PJs, which I thought was just so cute. And I definitely got some inspiration from it. So I have a feeling I'll be getting some new PJs. I do love Gap's PJs. I feel like you can get 100% cotton, 100% flannel PJs for a really good price. And I have 2 sets from them. I have one flannel set and I have one like knit set, but I think I want something that's like not flannel, but like still very warm. I'm not quite sure what I'm looking for, honestly, but that will be the next thing like on my list. And honestly, maybe for like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, I'll try to find some. And okay, so the last 2 are getting cooking, which is easy. I'll be leaning into so many brothy beans, so many soups, stews, slow cooked meats, what else? Like grain bowls, like baked salads, something that Justine Stacks is pretty famous for. This one feels pretty easy. And the last one is something I was touching on before, which is to relish the here and now. And this is something that I am really trying to do, because I feel like I always am looking 5 steps ahead, or like I already am 5 steps ahead in my thought process and my actions, and then I'm like 10 steps ahead in what I'm thinking about and how I'm planning and things like that. And I think that's great, and I think that is something that is so integral to owning a business, being a successful entrepreneur, being a successful freelancer, whatever your title is. I think that is so important to do, but at a certain point it eats you alive. It really, really does. And I think you can plan to a degree, and it's really good to be able to forecast things. But at the same time, if you're basing everything on the future and not living in the moment, it's like, what is the point of planning for the future if we're then not enjoying when those future opportunities happen? So I am trying to learn how to do this. I still don't know the best way to do so. I think that it's going to be a learning process. I want to start journaling or writing some sort of like quick daily entry. I've been doing end of the week recaps, a written journal, which I really like. I think it's a good way for me to get all my thoughts out, but not feel like I'm just talking about all the negative points. Because I found when I journal every single day, it just turns into a dumping ground of all the shitty things that happened that day. And I don't think that that is productive. But if I'm going at the end of the week and I have the perspective of how the week ended and I go through a good weekend, I think it's easier to be like, here are the highlights, the good points of the week. And then, you know, maybe taking those daily entries as a way to talk about the not so great things that happen. So I want to figure out, I think I want to do like a 3 bullet points, honestly, like a rose and a thorn sort of thing of something good that happened, something not so great that happened. And I feel like a neutral thing, or like just like a big win of the day or something like that. So I'll get back to you of what I figure out on that front. But if anyone has any suggestions, I would love that. I'm not a big daily journaler like I was just explaining, but I think some sort of like written confirmation of being present in the day and looking back on the day would be really good and really healthy. So I'll keep you in the loop as winter progresses, and it'll be an interesting winter. There's a lot of good things happening. This coming weekend, I'm going to the lake with some friends, which would be really nice to be outside and just be out of the house. Last weekend, I was in Pittsburgh for a concert. We saw Billy Strings. It was amazing. And then really for the rest of November, December, obviously we have the holidays. I'm cooking Thanksgiving as I have for the past 2-3 years. And that's always a great time. My parents come into town this year. 2 of our friends are joining us because they're not able to go home for Thanksgiving this year. So I'm really excited for that. I've never had like friends at Thanksgiving, but I mean, I consider them family at this point. So it'll be a really fun time. I'm very excited. I'll talk more about my Thanksgiving menu, but in the meantime, that's kind of the overall. Christmas, I'm going home and going back to my parents. And then January, we're trying to plan a trip with some friends for skiing, snowboarding. I don't do either of those things, so I will just be hanging out and having a great time. And then that'll be like in the Midwest somewhere. And then we're trying to do a trip end of February to go out west. Wes and our friends will like go out to a mountain and go snowboarding, and then I'll hang out in Seattle while they're doing that. So some exciting things coming this winter. I realized that I really need things on the horizon, plans on the horizon, to help me like not let these feelings of being trapped in my house creep in. Because I think working from home and like being a little bit isolated in my home, as I was talking about, like I don't really see friends unless it is like an actual plan. I feel trapped a lot of the time. And I'm really trying to work through that. And I think that's why like this whole Danish school of thought will be really helpful, because it's about being content like in your home, in your body. And I think sometimes I need a reminder of that, of like how lucky I am to have the home that I do and how much there is here that is to be cherished. So I'm gonna work on it.